It should be recording. Okay. If you cannot see a full PowerPoint screen, please let me know in the chat. Okay, thumbs up from somebody. Thank you. So thank you all for joining us on what today is, Wednesday afternoon. My name is Brianna Randall, and I am the director in the Career and Internship Center here in Mary Gates Hall. And we're going to talk about helping students pivot when their career plans aren't working out. As I mentioned, the center that I work in, and I've worked at UW for 22 years. I've worked in this physical suite for 21 years, and I've been director for 6 years. Love this work, feel passionate about it, and I keep learning, and I also get to use the skills that I have. So it's been a good ride. You are always welcome to email me if you have questions about various things. I will send you a copy, or I will send you a link to the Google slide deck and a recording of the webinar. And the websites that we talk about in the slide deck, I will send you those links in email so they're easy to access. So you're welcome to take notes, of course, but I'll try to make it easy for you. We're going to do a slide of just real talk addressing why it is that we're talking about this today. Some mindsets that we're hoping students can have, some advice that we're trying to give students that we're hoping you can give students as well, and some resources that can help students along with some of the mindsets and advice that we're trying to convey. So the first little bit is real talk. Students really, truly have a lot of factors working against them right now, trying to get internships and also jobs. Particularly in Seattle, in large tech companies, the federal government, research, environmental fields, public health, and there are others. And I fear that there will be more if some funding limitations happen for some graduate level programs that then students will feel like they are not able to go into because they will not be able to afford graduate training. So the struggle is real and the disappointment is real. And I know sometimes students have really been wanting to do a thing or work in a place their whole lives, or their families have been wanting that for them and still want that for them. So I know pivoting is hard. And I know there are a lot of factors working against students, and I don't want to minimize that. Okay. And yet, last I checked, there were 82,000 opportunities in Handshake. So there are things out there, and not all of those will be interesting, but some of them will seem interesting. They will be in this region, across the nation, and across the globe. So not all hope is lost. And what we want students to do is to try to adjust their mindsets, even just a little bit. And it might be really hard for them to do that. And that's why I wanted to start with the real talk. I get it. But if students open their minds just a little bit, it will open them up to a much wider range of possibilities. As you can tell, some of these bullet points were a little bit worded towards students. What you may find if you come to career readiness partner sessions is that sometimes come up with the ideas for these, and then we think, oh, that might be good to do for students too. And that's kind of what we're thinking for this. So this might be something that we turn into some type of resource we do for students as well. Okay. Mindsets. Your first job is just that. One of our coaches has that hanging up in their office, and I adore it. Students, as you all are well aware, you've been working many years and you probably have many years left to go. You'll be working for 40, 50 years or longer, depending on whether their Social Security and all the things left. Students have a lot of time to build their careers, and we don't want them to put too much importance on the first job. I do think there is they put a lot of self-importance on it. I really have to land the perfect thing or the thing I've been dreaming of. And I understand, but we don't want them to overemphasize that. And any job can be a stepping stone. So students can build skills and connections that will help them get closer to their goals in any role. Plus, making money right now might be more important than waiting for the right job. I was in a Big Ten Career Center directors meeting earlier today, and some of us have been around a while, and she's like, yep, I find myself giving some of the same advice I gave in 2008, which is making no money better than making a little money when a student was about to turn down a job they didn't think was perfect for them? And so, sometimes it's better to accept a job and start building connections, building skills, building money, rather than waiting around for the perfect job, because anything can help build towards the next thing. And your job doesn't have to define you. In this country, it often does. But your identity is made up of much more than your job, and definitely much more than your first job. You can be awesome, even if you're not in a job that you're passionate about. And in fact, a lot of people, I would consider my husband to be one of them, his job is not his defining characteristic. And he's fine with that. And he's still awesome. So we want students to think about that as well. The job hunt itself also doesn't need to define you. And I know this is really hard. Even in strong economies, rejection is inevitable. And a lot of our students, as you are aware because you work with our students, rejection hasn't always been a common part of their lives, right? They're talented academically. And so they start applying for things and they get rejected. And it can be really, really hard. And it's always been like that, and it's always going to be like that. And I know they're getting rejected a lot right now, and that is really hard. I can tell them not to take it personal, and it's impossible to not take it personal, right? But even if students are really struggling to find work, they're a worthy person, right? So not having the perfect job doesn't have to define you. And being in the job hunt doesn't have to define you as well. Struggling to find work doesn't mean you're not a worthy person. Again, it's easier for me to say this than I know it's very hard to live this out. So those are more what I'll consider mindsets, and I wanted to split these up. These are going to be advice pieces, but they're similar. So what we really want students to think about is to try things and to say yes. We wanted, yeah, I like what you said, Lisa. A long time ago, one of my colleagues and I, some of you may remember her name was Emma. I probably shouldn't say this in a recorded webinar that I'll put on the website, but we thought about just getting hats that would be just like try shit, right? Like just try things. You never know. You might not have ever thought you would like working in a certain industry, or you've never heard of that job title before, that your friend was like, hey, I know of an opening. You're like, okay. Or your manager was like, hey, somebody left and we need somebody to do this. Do you want to do it? Sure, try it. You might end up loving it and you have no idea. So we really do want to encourage people to just try things, even if it wasn't on their radar. We hear this from students as well. A lot of entry-level salaries will not allow them to have an apartment on their own. And I would say we're a big city. That's the case for big cities, right? People in New York never expect to have an apartment on their own. And I think that's just a mindset that they need to understand that probably in a lot of industries in Seattle, you're not going to be able to have an apartment on your own. And it doesn't mean that that's a failure either. Living with roommates, living with family members, that's okay. If that's allowed, my parents would have never let me move back in, but that's a different story for a different day. It's okay, right? So, and a lot of this stuff is temporary, which we'll get to in a second. So, goes back to like this is your first thing. It doesn't mean you're destined to live with your family or your roommates forever. We got to build, we got to start and build somewhere. Consider different sectors and industries. Kind of goes back to what we talked about before, but I mean, for example, if you always thought you wanted to work in the environmental field and specifically you wanted to work for the EPA, and that might not be possible, how could you still use your passion for the environment and maybe even your policy mind, but for a consulting firm or for local government or for an environmental nonprofit? You can use your skills and your passions a lot of times in a lot more different places than students might naturally think of on their own. So we want them, it's not settling, it's just thinking about different places they could still do very similar work to what they were thinking they wanted to do. This also came up in the Big Ten meeting is how to encourage people to think about small and medium companies. Especially in this region where we have some very big, very popular employers, it can be really hard to get students to think about small and medium organizations. And also those organizations are smaller, so they don't hire tons of our students per year. But they do hire our students every year. When you look at our next destination outcomes, yes, there are a lot of companies, there are a handful of companies that hire tons of students, and there are 1,000 companies who hire one or two, right? So those organizations might be able to provide a wider breadth of experience, even deeper and wider. And because they're not as well known, they might not receive as many applications. So we really want people to think about organizations beyond the big ones that they've already heard of. That can be a hard sell. I will say, I know sometimes this is a particular concern for international students who can be worried about them not wanting to convert to an H-1B. Also, startups. This is an area that we've seen startups continue to hire. They're not for everybody. They're usually fast-paced, work a lot of hours, but for some people, they're a very exciting way to innovate, meet like-minded people. So startups can be a way to get experience right now because startups are always starting up. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of problems getting our students to do this. Our students really want to work in Seattle. And I get it. There are some real benefits, right? And I will say, especially right now, it is a huge benefit to, yeah, near the light rail. There are some huge benefits in a time when our country is how it is to living in this state and this region, and I get that. But you can always move back later. Moving to a different region of our state or to a different state, it doesn't have to be forever. And you can also probably save money while you're there, have a better apartment. So there are opportunities, and sometimes people will have better luck if they look a little bit further away. Again, it's trying to think about what regions and what sectors and what medium and small companies might not be having as much competition for jobs right now. Also, think beyond the United States. The search process might be a little bit more arduous, but making money and not being in our country and experiencing other countries and yummy food I think it's great. InterStride is a resource we have that there's two modules, one for international students, but also one for domestic students who want to work in other countries. So that's an option for students who really are thinking, you know what? I want to work in a different country, but I don't know how to do that. We get asked this a lot. Should I go to grad school? By and large, this is not a good thing to do as a default. Okay. I will say there are a couple of exceptions when I will be a little bit more lenient. For international students and undocumented students who are struggling to find work, it can be a way to extend your time in country, but it also extends your debt, right? So I know some of you work in graduate programs, no offense to any of you. But many grad programs are expensive. They're not all eligible for financial aid, and especially for, say, undocumented students. And they don't always lead to significantly higher paying jobs right away. So I want students to be really thoughtful about whether that is best for their finances and best for their career track, rather than doing it as a way to avoid searching for jobs. Grad school is not bad. Grad school without thinking about it fully is bad. And we really want students to talk to humans and not just digitally. And really, they have the student card right now. People do like to help students and new grads. So people can share their insights, their job leads, their contacts, their encouragement. And it's much better to do that over coffee or even on the phone rather than through email or text or LinkedIn. Again, people like to be helpful to students. I will say I was talking to a colleague earlier this week, and I said finally, you know what? I think networking is like exercising. Everybody knows they need to do it. Very few people love doing it and feel highly motivated to do it. So I get it. But really, in this day and age, people have to do more than sit behind a computer and do connection requests and apply online. James, it was called InterStride, and I'll try to remember to add that to the follow-up email. Oh, thank you, Dana Faye. Okay. Show up, work hard, and be kind. There's actually a clip of Obama basically saying this, like what sets apart people who end up progressing. And it's like, you just show up, you find what needs to be done, you do it, you take initiative, you help others. It's really not overly complicated, right? So whatever job you're in, whether it's in your industry of choice, whether you think it's beneath you, show up and do a good job. That will help you build connections. Maybe it's with people who work there. Maybe it's with customers. They see you're awesome at your job, right? It's just really important. And I think people underestimate this a lot. So there will be times when people are working in an industry that they're not stoked about. And they have an industry that they want to work in down the road. It can be important to showcase continued interest and dedication to that industry. So they could take courses on LinkedIn Learning, for example, in that industry area, or to develop skills related to that. And then they can add those to their LinkedIn profile. They could join professional organizations, go to networking events. So there's ways to stay involved in an industry or a sector, even if you're not able to work in that presently, that can help keep the ties there. Okay, 8 minutes. I think I can do it. So on our website, one of the pages that we have is called Career Exploration and Assessment. And these are the different, this is a view from our mobile, the mobile view. of the different categories of resources that we have on it. And it's a way for students to learn more about themselves and learn more about industries, salaries, all kinds of things. So this is a really good website for people who want to learn more, who like, okay, I wanted to go into this field and clearly that's not going to work right now because of shenanigans. And so I need to just rethink everything. This is a good website. They can learn a lot, whether it's through videos or through labor market information, whatever their type of learning style is, there's probably something helpful for them on this page. This is one of the resources on it. We pay for this. It's Lightcast information. All these links will be in the follow-up email that I'll send tomorrow. So this information, you can search by an industry. I don't think the industries are all that helpful. This is very broad. But then when you click on this, say science, technology, engineering, math, then it'll populate occupations in that. Then it will show you, you know, the skills that you need, the salaries, job trends, all kinds of stuff related to it. If you don't want to search by that, so that's by industry, you could also do this one and search by a keyword. So you know you want to do a certain thing. You know you want to do sustainability, or you know you want to do finance. So you can search by a keyword. And if you're interested in a specific state or a specific county, you can drill down by that. So if you're like, you know what, I want to move back to my home county somewhere else in the state, I want to know what's growing there, crops and stuff, but also fields that are growing in demand, you can do that as well. So that is linked from our career exploration and assessment page. Thank you, Sophie. Also on that page, but littered throughout our website, is our Husky Career Outcomes data page. There's actually a link to this from our very front page, which is just careers.uw.edu. At the top, there's a button that's called Career Outcomes. And you can look at the data by college and department. And so you can see what employers and job titles and what graduate programs your undergraduates have gone on to. And so, and you can search by year. The most recent year we have up is 2024. I'm working on the 2025 data right now, but it usually won't go up until about April because we collect data for 6 months past June. So that's a good way for people to explore what other people from a major have gone on to do. Pathway U is also on our career exploration page. It is a way people can take up to 4 assessments. It's work values, personality, workplace preferences, and interest, I think. And as long as they take 2 of those, it will then give them ideas of career paths that might align with who they are and give them information about those career paths. I'm not a test them and tell them person. I'm not saying they have to go into one of those, but it oftentimes can spark interest, like, oh, you know, I don't exactly agree with that, but I can kind of understand why it might point me in that direction. So it can spark some ideas for people. Yes, I'll give the slide deck and the recording and all the links. I mentioned LinkedIn Learning. I love this very much. An on-demand video learning platform. And I put available on mobile because that's typically how I access it. You can download courses onto your phone and listen to it on the bus or while you take a walk or on the plane. It's typically what I do. It's a good way to build skills or dabble in fields. Like, you know what? I'm kind of thinking I might want to do project management. Let's like watch an hour-long course and see if I am interested or if I don't understand any of it, that kind of thing. So then you can add completions to your LinkedIn profile to start building up a little bit of credibility. There are a couple of easy ways. I know, like I said, nobody really wants to network, but there's a couple of easy ways to get started. One is Husky Landing. It is a platform for Huskies. It is Husky alum and Husky students connecting with each other. And the people who are in it have volunteered to be in it. So they're really nice people. And I will say nationwide, this came up on our meeting today too, alumni who volunteer to be in these databases never complain about being overrun or overwhelmed by students contacting them. It's usually the other way around. They feel underutilized. Students really should be reaching out to alums more. The alums want to be reached out to. The other resource is LinkedIn has an alumni tool, so you can specifically narrow down easily the people in LinkedIn who are UW alum. And you can filter by location, skills, and majors. You can explore their career trajectories. You can actually reach out and make connections. Both of these tools are pretty low barriers to entry, low scary ways to start networking. We also have some success stories on our website. What we do is I run the Next Destination survey, and people who fill it out, bless their hearts, first of all, and they had a positive outcome, meaning they're in grad school or they got a job. I reach out to them and I say, hey, would you be willing to give a piece of advice to students? And they do that too. They're like doubly amazing. And then we put up their profile on our website. And oh my goodness, I love reading them. They're so inspiring and they're very real. They don't sugarcoat things. And so these can be a really good way for students to learn from people who have been successful and also struggled and also maybe would have done things differently and are trying to help students maybe struggle less than they did. I tried to keep this slide deck not very job searchy because we have a different webinar that I think I also did with this group last year is how to improve your chances of landing a job. It's all of our best job search tips from all of our individual webinars included into one. So this is a little bit more big picture. And then how to improve your chances is more specific to, I'm trying to get a job. How do I do this? And so people can look at that slide deck on our website as well. I did say in the description that I was going to cover a few not career resources, and I did want to highlight a couple. Life is stressful. The winter is even more stressful for a lot of people. And then you try to add on finding a job, not being able to find a job, worrying about money. It can be a lot. The Counseling Center is a great resource for students. Here's sort of their 6 main things. I will say they offer Let's Talk, which is really short-term counseling is even overstated. It's like, hey, I need to help problem solve something. And we offer a location of that this year. So on Thursday afternoons, one of their counselors is in our office doing short-term meetings with students, and that will continue next quarter as well. So Thursday afternoons, Let's Talk is here. And then also, even if that feels a little too scary to meet with a counselor, Live Well has a way for students to meet with other students to talk about these things. So they have very highly trained students who serve as wellness coaches, who serve as educators. They can lead groups, they can do one-on-one sessions. And that can be a really good way to toss around ideas about how to manage stress around these things, how to make decisions. So they're both good colleagues of mine. The Counseling Center and Live Well offer really great resources. Okay, I am going to stop sharing. I'm also going to stop the recording.